I'm Pamela, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be ranking all 8 Harry Potter movies, so let's get into it. I gotta start off by saying ranking these movies was extremely difficult for me. I absolutely love every single one of these movies. Ever since I was a kid, I constantly rewatch them. I do consider these to be both Christmas movies and Halloween movies. I feel like especially the first 2 movies have like a dedicated Halloween scene and a Christmas scene, but even on a rainy day, I will just turn these movies on. So like I said, ranking them was so difficult, so please don't get mad at me if you think my ranking is a little crazy. We're all entitled to our own opinions. Let me know your ranking down below. I'm sure a lot of people's ranking is gonna differ from mine. Coming in last place at number 8, I have the 6th movie, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I do think this one is my least favorite. I honestly really didn't enjoy it that much for many years. It has grown on me in recent years, but if I wasn't doing a full watch through of all the movies and I had to just pick one movie to put on, this definitely would be my last choice. There are some fun moments in this movie though. I really like the scene when Harry takes the liquid luck and goes to talk to Professor Slughorn, and him, the professor, and Hagrid are hanging out. That's a pretty funny scene. I do like the whole Ron dating Lavender, Hermione being jealous. There are some good moments, but you know, one of these movies has to be my least favorite, and I think it's the 6th one. Coming in at number 7, I have the 2nd movie, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Now I feel like this one is a lot of people's least favorite, at least that's kind of what I've seen online. A lot of people find the second one to kind of be boring, but this one is super nostalgic for me. This one obviously came out at a time where I was already obsessed with the first one. I was super young. I was like 6 years old when the second one came out, and I was absolutely obsessed. I remember my mom buying it on VHS for me. I had so much Harry Potter merch at the time. I remember I had this coloring book I was obsessed with. At Christmas time, I was always gifted Harry Potter stuff. This one I used to watch on repeat. I used to wear out that VHS tape. I really love the final act of this movie with Tom Riddle and the Basilisk. I love that Draco Malfoy joins the Quidditch team. The scene when Ron is throwing up slugs is really funny. And obviously the fact that all of these students are like being petrified, that's actually pretty scary. And then obviously the sort of twist with Ginny helping Tom, that was pretty crazy. Coming in at number 6, I have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. I do think that I like Part 1 more than Part 2, which might surprise some people. Some people might argue that a lot more interesting stuff goes down in Part 2. It's honestly hard to choose between the 2 parts because if you do kind of think of both parts as one big movie, that's a different story, but obviously Part 2 is super emotional. So many people die. It's like so emotional seeing our 3 main characters have to battle evil at Hogwarts after seeing them grow up for all of these years. Obviously, I love how everyone bands together to fight Voldemort and, you know, his army. I love when Professor McGonagall says her little spell and she's like, I always wanted to do that. I love when Mrs. Weasley kills Bellatrix. I love when Harry temporarily dies and then like Malfoy's mom lies and says that he's really dead. I love when Neville kills the snake. Honestly, the saddest death for me is probably Fred. Just the fact that the whole Weasley family has to deal with this major death, but also his twin brother. Every time I think about it, it kills me. And then of course, I do love the little scene at the end when we get to see them older, sending their kids off to Hogwarts. Next up in 5th place, I have Deathly Hallows Part 1. Obviously, I do enjoy Part 1 a little bit more than Part 2. I just remember watching this one in theaters and like being obsessed with it. I love that it has a completely different vibe than the rest of the franchise. You know, we don't follow our 3 main characters at Hogwarts. They're out in the world on this journey to find all the Horcruxes. It's so interesting to me to see them out in a different environment than the school. So many good moments in Part 1. You know, Hermione pretends to be Bellatrix. I love the scene when Hermione and Harry are dancing, you know, after Ron left them and they're like both depressed and Harry is just trying to cheer up Hermione. That is honestly one of my favorite scenes. I love when Ron finds his way back to them. I also love the scene when Hermione reads the story in the book about the three brothers and the Deathly Hallows. And obviously Dobby dies at the end of this one. That might be one of the most emotional scenes in the whole franchise. That scene when Dobby dies makes me cry without fail every single time. Coming in at number 4, I have Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, the 5th movie. This is another one that I remember watching in theaters and just being obsessed with it. I do feel like this is kind of where there is a noticeable shift in the franchise. You know, it's the first movie after Voldemort is officially back. Cedric Diggory just died in the previous movie, so things are pretty tense. I love that Harry, Hermione, and Ron and everyone are building Dumbledore's army. I love the little scenes where they're practicing in the Room of Requirement. And the final act of this movie is just so good. When they're all like running through that room where all the prophecies are and they're falling off the shelves and they have to run. And then of course, the younger kids are fighting side by side with the older crowd, you know, fighting Bellatrix and Malfoy's dad and all the evil characters. And then of course, Sirius dies. That is another one of the most emotional scenes in the franchise. That moment when he just disappears and Harry's scream after that, that is an emotional scene. And then we of course get the showdown between Voldemort and Dumbledore. And then after this is sort of when people start to actually believe Harry that Voldemort is back. Because after he claims that he's back after the events of the 4th movie, no one believes him. Everyone thinks he's lying, but people actually saw Voldemort return. Coming in at number 3, I have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the very first movie. This one just holds a special place in my heart, so nostalgic for me. Like I said, it's just, I was obsessed as a kid. I was like 4 or 5 when the first one came out, obsessed from the very first moment I saw it. I remember getting it on DVD for Christmas that year, along with so much other Harry Potter stuff. The first one is just so magical. I don't even need to explain it to you guys. Coming in at number 2, I have Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This one is just so good. I do feel like the third one is where things start to get a little bit darker. You know, our main trio is a little older. It's the first movie where we get to see them out of their uniform and wearing like regular casual clothing. I remember being obsessed with that as a kid, like getting to actually see them in normal clothes. I love the whole time travel aspect of this movie. Hermione with her time turner. And the whole final act of this movie is one of my favorites. I love when Dumbledore tells them, maybe you can save more than one person tonight. And they also save Buckbeak. You know, I love when Harry and Hermione are watching Hagrid's house and Hermione thinks that she sees herself behind her. There's just so many fun little moments in this movie. I love the whole reveal with Pettigrew and Sirius is there, Professor Lupin. I love when Harry and Sirius finally get to meet for the first time and they have that little emotional talk about his parents and how he's his godfather. The third one is just so good. Which brings me to number 1 on my ranking list, the 4th movie, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This is another one I was absolutely obsessed with as a kid. This one came out, 2004, I think? And I remember I had it on DVD. I used to watch it constantly on my little portable DVD player. I've probably seen the 4th one the most out of the entire franchise. I just love the whole Triwizard Tournament. You know how I was saying earlier, the Deathly Hallows Part 1 has a different vibe from the rest of the movies because, you know, they don't go to Hogwarts. I feel like the 4th one, the 4th movie, is another one that has a little bit of a different vibe just because of the Triwizard Tournament and how there's all these different schools staying with them in Hogwarts. You know, they have the Christmas ball where they're all dancing. I love all the different events in the tournament. I really enjoy the whole dragon one when they have to get the golden egg from the dragon. And then of course the scene in the maze at the end is so intense and dark and pretty scary, honestly. Voldemort finally comes back. We get to see Pettigrew like chop off his own hand to help Voldemort come back. And it's honestly just so scary with Harry there, like watching on. Voldemort doesn't even realize at first that he's there, or he like forgets that Harry's there. And then, you know, they have the whole showdown. He kills Cedric, which is just crazy. And then after they come back, when Harry brings Cedric's body back, the performance by his dad is honestly just so emotional. It gets me every time. And then of course the whole twist with Mad-Eye Movie and Barty Crouch, that is just insane. I remember that blowing my mind the first time I saw it. But there you have it. That is my ranking of all 8 Harry Potter movies. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know your ranking. Which one is your first one? Thanks so much for tuning into another video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future posts. Please also follow me on all other social media, and I will see you guys next time.